Hello guys, we're about one here, and welcome to the segment on my channel which I do very rarely and only have done twice, and that is Yu-Gi-Oh! Good or Bad. This segment is a segment on my channel where I essentially talk about a card in the game that I find that, or when there's a discussion in the game that people are discussing about it, about a card that can be considered good, really good, but also really bad at the same time. The two times I've done this, I believe, was the first with Pot of Desires, and I can't remember the second time actually. Maybe it was only once? It's been a while since I've done this segment, guys. It really has. But today we're talking about a card that I have it right in front of me. That's why I'm looking down, so I can actually read the effect without going off my camera. And we're just going to talk about its good and bad qualities, and really, in the end, discuss: is it really a good card or is it really a bad card? So the card we're talking about today, which could be good or bad, is Solemn Scolding. Now, the reason I chose this card specifically was because this card in the community, I've heard discussions with it from people saying this card is really bad because you can't control any set cards, but also really good because it can negate anything. Let's get into its actual effect to begin with, because that's where I usually like to start off with stuff like this. So, Solemn Scolding. If this is the only set card in your spell and trap card zone, when a monster would be summoned or a spell or trap or monster effect is activated, play 3,000 life points, the summon or activation, and negate the summon or activation if you do destroy that card. Now, why is this effect so good? Why is this effect so good in the game? Well, it's good and bad, obviously, because, as I said, you can't control any set, spell, or trap cards to activate this effect. But the reason this card has had debate is because, obviously, that point, and it's good, really good, because it can negate actually anything in the game. It's essentially Solemn Judgment. It's its rehash. It's kind of like Pot of Greed got Pot of Desires. Scolding is basically the new Solemn Strike, the new Solemn Judgment, and because of this card, like, it's been out since New Challenges, and it's a very long time since this card has been out, obviously, but even still, this card has been seen coming in and out of meta, constantly being debated on, saying, oh, is this card really good? Oh, is this card really bad? And one of the reasons I actually wanted to talk about this was because recently it's been resurfacing in side decks to stop cards like Evenly Matched, to stop cards like any summons. If you're not playing any back row, it can be very good. I'm even playing it in Pendulum Magicians right now because I feel like, because I'm only playing time Pendulum Graph, I can justify playing this card. Plus, I'm not playing anything else that pays life points. So that's really the point I'm playing with this card, and why many people are playing it, because it can actually negate Evenly Matched, which is a very big problem for a lot of decks, such as Spiral. They never have back row set unless it's like a utility wire, and if they set the Scolding, at least they don't have to worry about Evenly Matched. But there's also people citing Mind Control Crush as well as the same reasoning, but I feel like this card would be better than that. But let's get into the good points and the bad points of this card, so we can actually discuss this card. So let's start with the bad points, because I feel like there's more bad points than there are good points. The bad points of this card is obviously, the first one at least, is it can only be activated if you control no other set cards. Now, what does this mean? If you have even a spell or a trap in your spell and trap card zone that is set, you are not legally allowed to activate this card. This card cannot be activated, and it will be just not usable, essentially. It's a dead card, it can't be used. It can be easily Cosmic Cyclone, it can be easily Twisted without you being able to stop it, and that's the thing. And knowing this is one of its biggest faults, how it can only be used that one way, and you can't really set up other protection with it, which is another big flaw of this card. Which is why it has such a good effect. Its biggest flaw is that it only can protect you once. Now, obviously, in hand trap based decks such as Spiral, such as Trickstars, this doesn't really matter. And if you're playing Trickstars, I doubt you're playing Scolding as well, just because you want to have something like maybe Ring of Destruction set as well, so you can burn your opponent more. But Scolding itself, in a hand trap deck, it can be very good. But in other decks, such as maybe Tellarknights, such as maybe Ritual Beasts, such as maybe even Pendulum Magicians at times. Yes, I said I'm playing it, but still, it can be very bad at times. This card has its faults. And that's one of the reasons why I've chosen this card, because even though it's very, very good, it has its faults with the one effect that says you can't activate any set spell or you can't activate this card if you control any set spell or trap cards, which is a big problem for the card. But I feel like I've gone over that point very much. Let's go on to the next point of the card, where it's really its cost. The cost is very large. Now, obviously, Solemn Judgment, the original iteration of Solemn Scolding, the card that it was based off of, it said pay half your life points. Now, sure, paying half your life points isn't really a big deal, because you could be like on 100 life points and it puts you on 50. So that's why it's so good. But Solemn Scolding has the biggest cost for any Solemn card, and I think maybe any other card in the game. No, Cyberstein has the biggest cost for that with 5,000. But Solemn Scolding has a 3k life point cost. And that 3k is very, very steep, especially in the late game or in the early game. Like, even in the early game, sure, it's big, but you can deal with it. Sure, you have a bigger likely chance of getting FTK'd, or, well, I should say OTK'd, with this card, but it's 3k life points to negate anything in the game. But seeing as it's a 3k life point cost, that cost can be very huge. Like, at most times, players consider life points a resource, yes. But once your life points resource gets under that 3,000, you're not going to be able to activate Scolding. It's just going to be a dead card, maybe a bluff at best. And that's a problem for the card in general. Just because the card can pay 3k life points, it's a big cost, but obviously the cost isn't too steep for decks such as maybe Counter Fairy. Like, sure, if you're playing Counter Fairy, you're going to have multiple trap cards, but this card can still be good in Counter Fairy. Why? You open up a hand where you cannot activate multiple traps. So you want to set the one trap card you want the most, Scolding, with maybe an Ariadne on board and maybe one of their monsters. And with that, this card is now very playable. It's probably a one-of in the deck in my opinion, but that's not where I'm trying to go here. The card has its very downfall points with the set effect, where you cannot actually activate this if it's set, and its big life point cost. But another big fault of this card is, if you're setting one and passing with this card, with maybe a monster or something, this card still has a very big downfall, because people play back row destruction still, such as Cosmic Cyclone. They will pay 1,000 life points to target that one set card, and after that, the card is essentially useless. So that's another big problem, because if you only set this card down, this card is a big defense, yes, but if you set this card down expecting to, I don't know, protect yourself for that turn, and your opponent has that one Cosmic Cyclone, that one Twin Twister, any of that, this card essentially becomes null and void. The card essentially becomes nothing. It becomes a very, very bad card. But even still, those are just the bad qualities of the card. There are still good qualities of the card. Like, the bad qualities we've gone over is its effects not being able to set, where when effects you cannot activate if you control any other set spell or trap cards. Its big life point cost can be very threatening. And the fact that if your opponent has a Cosmic Cyclone or Twin Twister, you essentially have no sorry guys, you essentially have no defense for that turn, which is a very, very big problem in a card like this. It's a very good card. I'm not going to lie about that. It is a very, very good card in the game. But the fact of those faults really does make you debate, is the card good or is it bad? But we've gone over the bad points. Let's go over the good points now. Now, the first good point of this card is clearly negate everything in the game. This card can literally negate anything in the game. It can negate a summon, it can negate a spell, it can negate a trap, it can negate an activation of a monster effect, it can negate hand traps, it can negate evenly matched, it can negate link summons, Xyz summons, pendulum summons, not fusion summons unless they're inherent fusion summons. But this card can negate everything in the game. That is the biggest good point about this card. It can negate everything in the game, no matter what it is, and that is always a good effect. I'm not saying this card is still very good. I'm not saying this card is still very bad, but this is a fact that you have to understand. Being able to negate anything in the game is very powerful. And that's why people debate if this card is good or bad. If it couldn't do that, this card would be trash and in the bin. But anyway, this card can negate anything in the game, and that is one of its biggest qualities. That is one of its biggest things, and that is its main good point. Another good point of this card, it can be used in decks that don't use heavy traps. It can be used in decks like Spiral, it can be used in decks like Pendulum Magicians, it can be used in decks such as Invoked. Invoked, yeah, they play trap cards, but they can play this as well if they don't really play much traps. Like, you can play this card. You could also play card. This card is also a very good bluff. You set one, you do a T set. This is a bluff then. If your opponent, you could be like, oh, I have nothing really, I'm just going to set 1-2 pass. You can bluff the card. The card is a very good mind game trick. And even if your opponent does Cosmic Cyclone or Solemn Strike Solemn Scolding, ha! You wish. But even if your opponent does do that, you can still do something with the card, essentially. You still have it as a way to remove something. Like, this card can be considered a bluff at late game as well. That is one of the good points as well. It can be used as a late game bluff. Another good factor of this card, it's a Solemn. All Solemns are considered good in their own ways. This card is obviously negate everything. Solemns have their own way. Like, we've even come to a point in the game where the only trap cards you really run are Solemns. Like, Mirror Forces aren't used anymore. Mirror Forces aren't used. Cards like Trap Holes aren't used. Like, there's so many different traps in the game that aren't used anymore because they've just been filtered out. Solemns are the one type of card that you actually play still. And trap card that you actually play still. Like, Solemn Scolding is a good card in that retrospect because it's still a very powerful Solemn trap card. Obviously, I'm not making as good points as the bad points, other than the point that can negate everything in the game. But I'm really trying to give you guys something else to debate on because there is good point qualities to this card. There really is. But yeah, the good qualities are, obviously, it can negate everything in the game. It can be used as a bluff late game. It can be used in any deck that doesn't play trap cards, such as even maybe Shadows, if you're playing Shadows. Like, Solemn Scolding can be used in any deck such as this. Like, even in Tellarknights. Yes, Tellarknights, you can use this card, because all you have to do in Tellarknights is flip over everything that isn't continuous. I mean, that is continuous. Then, in your standby phase, and then you get to use this card's effect. Good OJ. But Solemn Scolding, the bad points, it can only be used while there are no other set cards on the board, leaving you practically defenseless. It is a 3k life point cost, which can be very huge at times, and your opponent can get rid of it very easily if you have no other way to defend yourself. Good points, it negates everything in the game. You can use it as a bluff late game. And it's also a card that just can be used in any deck that doesn't play traps. Like, these are the points I'm trying to make, guys. Like, this card, sure, there isn't as many good points to this card as there are bad points, but even still, this card has very good potential. This card is a very, very good card in that retrospect, and I hope I've been able to give you this kind of overview of it. But guys, what is your personal opinion on Solemn Scolding? This is the point of the video. This is the point of the video, to find out if the card is really good or bad. Personally, I think the card is still very good. Like, it can be very good, but it's also very bad at the same time. That's the point of this segment. Yu-Gi-Oh! Good or bad. That is the point, to find out if a card is good or bad. But Yeah, guys, what do you guys personally think? Do you think Solemn Scolding is good? Do you think Solemn Scolding is bad? Give me your opinions in the comments section below. Tell me anything I've missed. Just tell me anything, because I like to have these discussions with you in the comment section below. This is one of the segments I made a while back to have discussions, to like boost discussions on cards that are good or bad. Like, that's the point of this segment, to find out if it's good or bad. But yeah, guys, tell me in the comment section below if your personal opinions on this card, is it good or bad. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button and subscribe so you can be subscribed, so you see more of my videos later on in your subscription box, or just so you can be subscribed and help me out. You know, pressing the like button shows that I'm doing a good job. It shows that you guys want to see more of these kind of segments, and subscribing just means that you get to see these kind of segments later on. Also, don't forget to press the notification button to be notified of my future Yugioh videos as well. Just because sometimes YouTube's algorithm is a little garbage and it won't always show up in your notification box. But yeah, that's the video, guys. Tell me your personal opinions on Solemn Scolding, as I said. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos. And I'll see you guys next time. Solemn Scolding, is it good or bad? I don't know, but you guys tell me that. Bye, guys. Thanks for watching, guys, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on this video for more Yugioh videos, and check out the links in the description for the previous video, and the link to my Facebook page where you can see previous videos that I've posted there, and any other information that I may have posted there. I hope to see you guys next time, and thanks for watching.